Good evening and welcome, everyone. Oh, the microphones are now working well. That's great. It's really excellent to see so many faces here tonight. That is wonderful. You are at the Bennington Select Board meeting. This is Monday, July 24th, 2023, and we are so happy to see you all here. My name is Jeannie Jenkins, and I have the pleasure of chairing this board. We have a small but mighty contingent of select board members tonight. We have a quorum, and I'll ask Jim to begin by introducing himself.
Hi, I'm Jim Carroll.
Hi, Tom Haley.
Jean Connor.
That was quick. And also with us tonight, we have Stu Hurd, our town manager. We have Nancy Lively, who takes excellent minutes every single meeting. We have Jonas Spivak, who is always making sure that our presentations go smoothly and is also our communication coordinator. And we have Josh Boucher on the camera for Cat TV, which we very, very much appreciate. So tonight we want to begin, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance, but I'd like to ask Rick Zadel to come up, and there you are, and lead us in the pledge. He is a Purple Heart recipient, and we honor him and all of you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Rick. And next, I'll ask Tom to read the vision statement, which guides all, the town vision statement, which guides all our work.
Bennington is a welcoming, engaged, inclusive, resilient community where everyone, regardless of identity, shares in our vitality and benefits from an outstanding quality of life. Thank
you very much. All right, next up is the consent agenda for the purposes of discussion. Could I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the minutes or warrants? Yes.
I just have a question, and I'm wondering if it should be written out. On page 3 of the minutes, line 96, what does BGS stand for? Does anybody know?
Building and grounds.
Building and grounds?
Services.
Okay.
Should spell it out.
Okay. I didn't know what that was. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? All right. Then all in favor of approving the warrants and minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Great. All right. So next we have public comment. And before we start public comment, I want to share some thoughts about behaviors that have become increasingly concerning at our meetings. Over the past few years, the Select Board has watched our meetings become increasingly uncomfortable to participate in. The level of civil discourse has suffered, and we have had community members tell us that they are concerned that they will be verbally attacked for getting up to speak. Some have declared that they would be reluctant to serve on a town board because of the tone that is sometimes present during public comment. On more than one occasion, comments from members of the community have created a feeling of toxicity in the room. A number of community members have also commented on misinformation being shared by some members of the public. We can all misspeak, and that is easily corrected. What is frustrating is purposeful misinformation being shared as though it were fact. At our meetings, it is the Select Board's responsibility to make sure that accurate information is being shared. These disruptions to our meetings are not acceptable. Select Board meetings are for the purpose of doing the town's business, and these behaviors have had the detrimental impact of shutting down those who would like to share their ideas and talents. These disruptions to civil discourse must stop. Over the years, members of this and previous boards have reached out to the Vermont League of Cities and Towns and their legal team, as well as our town's attorney, for assistance. Several of us attended a seminar focused on working with conflict and how to handle difficult personalities. We've researched what is required to remain in compliance with open meeting law. We even formed a committee that was Tom, Jean, and Sarah that proposed the protocol that we currently use and that is available to the public at every meeting. It's been suggested by more than a few people that we close down public comment to only be required to only what is required by open meeting law. That could be a few minutes at the beginning of a meeting or a few minutes at the end of the meeting. There is no requirement that we even allow comment on public agenda items. However, we want the community's input. We want to hear what you think about agenda items. We want this to be a participatory process. It makes us happy when the community is here and are willing to share comments, whether in favor or not in favor of what we bring up. We want and we need your input. So we need your help in changing this dynamic. On the Select Board's part, we can strictly enforce the 3-minute time limit during public comment, and also both at the beginning of the meeting and during agenda items, and also that the time is used as indicated, either for comments of interest to all or to address questions or thoughts to the specific agenda item at hand. We can also encourage the community to do their own research when false information is shared. The town and the Select Board will work to do a better job at pointing out opinion from fact and making sure that accurate information is being shared. Where we can use the community's help is in having you speak up to share your thoughts so that those who use the meetings for other purposes don't monopolize the floor. Open meeting law hasn't allowed the Select Board to have a conversation about this since adoption of the subgroup's public comment protocol 2 years ago. I set up an impromptu group composed of Jean, who was a member of the original subgroup and someone who has done a lot of independent research on this issue, and Ed Woods, as a new board member who had noted concerns over public participation during his campaign. This is what we came up with, and we'll see how it works. All public comments will be held to 3 minutes with a warning 30 seconds before your time is up. If comments stray off topic or inappropriate, we'll remind you to stay on topic. If the comments continue to be off topic, we will need to rule you out of order and ask you to sit down. If false information is shared, we will indicate that the public should do their own due diligence, and we will try to share accurate information somewhere during the meeting. This feels harsher than we would wish, but at this point, it feels like it's necessary to do this. Please help us make sure that these meetings are good exchanges of ideas utilizing civil discourse as our code of behavior. I'm going to ask Jean if she would like to share some information or her thoughts as
Yeah, I
part of
don't
this.
have a lot to add. Jeannie covered it all extremely well. I just want to reiterate, the problem for me is I take the responsibility of making sure the public hears accurate information. I take that really seriously, and when we don't respond because we've made the decision to not engage in discussion during public comment, and I think we will continue to not do that, but when someone says something that is inaccurate and we don't respond in any way, many people could assume that what they've just heard is the truth when it's not. So I think we're going to be figuring out how to respond when that happens. That's just my own personal, I'm speaking for myself, not for the board. I just want to make that clear too. Let's see. And the other thing, none of us are happy about having to make these changes. It isn't something we want to do, but we feel like we have to. And it's really my hope that we see some tangible improvements tonight and going forward. And if we don't, there are real negative consequences that will occur if things don't improve. Very tangible negative consequences. And I, for one, am not going to just sit back and allow that to happen. This is my town, this is your town, and we all need to defend this process and make sure that our meetings are open and welcoming for everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, and so with that, we will start citizen comment. I will remind you in the future, if you do not put down something under topic, I can't call on you. So, all right, so we'll start with Mary Morrissey. You have 2 items.
And I'm sorry that I didn't put my comments.
Well, at least you put 2 items down.
Mary, I'll give you a 30-second warning, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Hopefully not. May I have possibly 3 minutes for each, and I probably won't use the 3 minutes.
I'm sorry, can you have what?
May I have the 3 minutes for each topic? Because
Yes.
one is about our veterans and
Yes.
our Purple Heart recipients.
Yep.
So this evening, the person who led us in the Pledge of Allegiance is Rick Zadel, who is a Purple Heart recipient. You are going to be having this evening an honor in that manner from the town of Proclamation. We started that last year when I was approached, and we started it on the town level, and then also the governor will be proclaiming next week, the same date, just had finished talking with his office, that they are going to be able to do it even with all the flooding there. So I would like to introduce the only person tonight that's with us that is a Purple Heart recipient, but I know there are a number throughout the community, and we honor their service and the injuries that they received during that service. With us is Rick Zadel, who is a Purple Heart recipient, and his wife Patty, and if you could all stand and give him a round of applause. And also with us this evening are members of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, as well as many of them are from the American Legion as well. So we honor your service as well, and thank you. My other topic, and I'll try to hurry through this, we were very fortunate in not getting the flooding as many other parts of the state did. And I know 10 years ago when Irene came on board, Tropical Storm Irene, there was a great deal of work that was done, like especially to the Roaring Branch and other, bodies of water. I have noticed in the last couple of years that there are lots of trees and shrubs and everything growing back within our rivers. And I didn't know if the town has kind of a maintenance plan to be keeping up with that, because I think, unfortunately, that was one of the issues 10 years ago. I mean, yes, obviously, those, the waters and the heavy rains caused a lot of it, but they also said because there had not been the greatest continued maintenance of getting trees and that out. So just in going forward, I wonder, does the town have a plan in place that yearly we're doing some work to improve that? Because if you look from the Depot Street or the Park Street down the rivers, there is a great deal of foliage there, and I'm afraid one of these years we're going to be hit again.
Thank you, Mary.
And if you want to answer that at another time, or if you can now.
Yeah.
No, I can answer that now. We do have a river management plan that was accepted by the state. It basically focuses on the elevation of the materials at the base of the river. And if we find that those materials are actually filling in and we're losing the depth and the capacity of the river to carry water, we are allowed to go in with state permission and remove those materials. We're not looking to go in and remove the trees that grow there, because they actually also provide an ability to slow the waters and allow them to absorb some of the power that river can generate.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. All right, next up is Jack Rossiter-Munley. Talk about refugee resettlement and community cafe.
Thank you you very much. So first of all, in the world of refugee resettlement, I'm thrilled to report that we have welcomed 3 new families to Bennington since the last Select Board meeting. It has been a really wonderful community effort to see the donations come in from people throughout the community and also to be part of setting up new homes for folks who are starting new lives here in the United States with donations that came not only from people all throughout the community, but were put in place by people from all throughout the community. There's the staff from myself and my colleague Megan Winslow, who are with ECDC, the resettlement agency. We also had volunteers, which included members of this board, and we have also folks from Bennington College and from all different parts of the Bennington County community coming together to make these houses homes and to help people have a soft landing when they come to the United States. This Wednesday, if you are interested in finding out specifically how you can help support refugee resettlement here in Bennington, there will be a program at the Bennington Free Library, who've been an incredible partner with us, supporting all kinds of different programming. It will be at 7 o'clock this Wednesday at the Bennington Free Library, and it will be about not only what it means for someone to have refugee status and to be a refugee, but also about all of the very specific ways that people in a community can help someone who is coming with little more than what they can carry to start a new life when they have been forced to flee their home country through no fault of their own. So I hope to see many of you there, and anybody watching on CAT TV, you're invited too. For the Community Cafe, a very quick update. We're open 1:30 to 3 o'clock every Saturday outside of 121 Depot Street. If you want more information, you can email benningtoncommunitycafe@gmail.com. And we are really thrilled to announce that we have a partnership with King Arthur Flour to send us 150 pounds of flour every quarter to support not only the baking that is already happening for the cafe, which includes homemade bread that all of our sandwiches are served on, and loaves of bread that are made available to people at a pay-what-you-choose basis who come to the cafe, but also to allow us to provide ingredients to folks who want to contribute to the cafe, but for whom purchasing their own ingredients on the scale that they might want to help people be served on the scale that we do at the cafe, we're now able to help support with some of the ingredients, starting with flour, and we're hoping to add more over time. And we've already had people talk to us about what they'd like to make once we have the first delivery come in. For context, we're serving between 30 and 50 people every week, and that is done in a 90-minute time frame, so you can imagine how quick we've gotten at filling orders accurately and quickly. So if you want to know more, benningtoncommunitycafe@gmail.com. We're always looking for more cooks and bakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. Next up is Sam Restino talking about 652 Main Street and Trail Fest.
Is it 7 a.m. or 7 p.m.?
7 p.m.
Sam Restino, Bennington, Vermont. I just happened to, I read the webpage a lot, the town webpage, and I happened to look at property transfers, and I happened to see that 652 Main Street on Pleasant and Main Street was sold by Northeast Holdings II. So I was wondering if that changes changes anything with the Ben High, because they're looking for property. And now anything could possibly happen with that property. So I just want to put that out there in the public's eye. We're all talking about that White House, whether if they could acquire it or use it for parking. That is to be determined in another discussion when we talk about the Ben High. Trail Fest is coming up this Saturday. I was there last year. They are people too. And if you want to make hikers welcome, you either ask them, are they NOBO or SOBO? That means if they're northbound or southbound, if they're going to Maine or they're going to Georgia. So they are welcoming too. So hopefully this Saturday we'll welcome again for a second time. Ironically, Representative Mary Morrissey brought up the flood wall. Be it known that I brought up the issue a few weeks ago as a concern, so much that I asked for documentation of the inspection reports for the said flood wall. The reason why I asked for that is we've all seen that crack on Park Street or before you go over the Brooklyn Bridge. It's very noticeable. If that's a certified wall, why is that crack there? On the agenda, we're mentioning about the Purple Hearts. There's another set group of people that I firmly believe, and that those set people are caregivers. They're the silent soldiers, and I'm one of them. I've taken care of my parents. Both my parents and mainly people out there have, but they deserve the Purple Heart as well. And it's not I or you, it's we for our town. It's team effort. Together, everybody achieves more. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Next up is Mary Ellen Munley, talking about Bennington Cares.
Hello. And I want to thank you for the opening statement that you made. I think it sets some ground rules for all of us in the community, and I think it was brave, so thank you. In terms of Bennington Cares, we are at the 6-month point in Bennington Cares, and we continue to have momentum build. On the back table, for anyone who's interested, we have a little flyer that identifies some of the things that have happened so far, what our purpose is, and how you might get more information about just knowing what's going on or participating in Bennington Cares. But most recently, what has happened, and I would say that this public comment is in the category of informing people about things they may want to know about. The after-school program startup was really quite a success. Over 70 families were interested in enrolling their children in 3 after-school programs, and those programs started with a waiting list. The art program there, we were students from 2nd to 5th grade, and they did art projects that were inspired by Georgia O'Keeffe, Gene Davis, who does all those stripe paintings, and Damian Hurst, who works with circles a lot. So they explored stripes and spinning and symmetry and swirls and curls, and they came home with flowers that they had made, mandalas and kaleidoscopes. So there was just a lot of joy in that program. And the kids who were in the class, in the group in the gym were just full of great energy. So it was really quite wonderful. This past Friday, there was a garden work day in the front of the school, and thank you to the select board members who helped to contribute to that. But it was one of those things where some of what we all hope happens, it was a collaboration between Bennington Cares, the school district, community gardeners, and the garden club, and master gardeners. And it really spruced up the garden in front, and 2 teachers were part of the group on Friday, and they will be planting bulbs with their students once school opens in the fall. There was a quilt project based on the Gee's Bend African American women who have become very well known for the beauty of their quilts. It was a project that started at Juneteenth with the school district, and it's going to expand to other locations around
30 seconds.
Great. It's going to expand to other locations around the community, beginning with at the museum on its Friday nights, so that families, in addition to those who are part of Bennington Elementary School, can be part of creating what will become a community quilt project. The August River Walk has invited Bennington Cares to be featured at its August 19th meeting, so we invite you to come for that walk that day and end up at Bennington Elementary School. We really look forward to meeting and working with the new principal at Bennington, and also to working with the other elementary schools as the new school year begins. So flyer if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, and Mike Bethel.
I want to thank the Select Board of Pownell. I think they did a heck of a job for their citizenry to lower the taxes, I think 2 years in a row, the property taxes. I wish that maybe this Select Board could do something like that, or maybe have a joint meeting with them to see how they did it, and maybe we could do it here too. As you know, we went up about 9% last year, and that's getting a little high, and you almost lost it by about 100 votes or so. So I think it would be wise to maybe have a joint meeting with them and maybe put that on our calendar to do that and see what we could do like they did. And I also glad to see Mr. Hurd back in the saddle, as they say. You've been missed. I haven't argued with you on points, but I'm glad you're back. And I think you need to be a little bit more relaxed about some of your rules on talking to you from the people's position here. That sounds a little strict, and there's only a few people that might have issues with you. But if you answered some of the questions and handled it different from the select board, everybody in this room and everybody in this town has a right to address you people. And there are elections, and I hope other people do get elected to the board, that feel more warming to our community than maybe you people do. I don't understand what you read at all. I understand it. I don't agree with it. And the other thing is, when are you going to have the meeting on the joint, on the cutting down of the trees for that pathway from School Street to North Street? By law, you have to have a...
That is scheduled for August 14th.
August 14th?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. All right. So next up, we are really pleased to recognize our Purple Heart recipients with a proclamation that Tom is going to read.
Town of Bennington, Vermont, proclamation, Purple Heart Community. Whereas the people of Bennington, Vermont have great admiration and the utmost gratitude for all citizens of this community who have selflessly served in the armed forces, which has been vital in maintaining the freedom and way of life enjoyed by all. And whereas citizens of this community have been killed in action while serving in the armed forces and have been posthumously awarded the Purple Heart for their ultimate sacrifice. And whereas the citizens of this community have been awarded the Purple Heart for being wounded by the enemy while engaged in combat. And whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest American military decoration. It was created as the badge of military merit, made of purple cloth in the shape of a heart with the word merit sewn upon it, on August 7th, 1782 in Newburgh, New York by General George Washington, then reestablished as the Purple Heart on February 22nd, 1932 by General Douglas MacArthur. And whereas the heritage it represents is sacred to all who recognize the sacrifice made to wear the Purple Heart, and whereas August 7th is nationally recognized as Purple Heart Day, now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the Bennington Select Board, hereby recognize August 7th of a given year as Purple Heart Day in Bennington, and urge our citizens and organizations to display the American flag, as well as other public expressions of recognition and appreciation of our Purple Heart recipients. We further proclaim Bennington, Vermont, a Purple Heart community, honoring the service and sacrifice of those from our community who were awarded the Purple Heart while serving in our nation's wars.
Thank you. And I would like to ask the members of the VFW and any others who are here who have served, as well as Rick as our representative of a Purple Heart recipient here, to please stand and let us give you a round of applause. Yes.
Can I address the board?
Absolutely. Please go to the microphone so it's picked up on CAT TV.
I can be loud enough without the microphone. Does the town...
Introduce yourself first, please.
Pardon?
Introduce yourself, please.
Oh, I'm James Gully, here, residents of Bennington. Do we have signs as we enter the town of Bennington that recognize that we are a Purple Heart community?
We do not. I was noticing
in
that.
Other communities, I think as long as the select board has recognized this, I don't think it's a big expense to put up signs saying that we are.
Yeah, Stuart, that's something that we can do, yes?
Well, as long as we don't run afoul of state law for signage along the highways of the state of Vermont. So we'll have to take a look at it, Jim, but it's not a bad idea.
Right.
Another Vermont counselor.
Oh, have you? Okay, I've seen it in Cambridge, New York. Actually, I saw they have it coming into their town.
Well, I've seen them as I travel right with the junction.
Ah, okay. Okay. Great. I think that's a great suggestion. Thank you. All right, and thank you all for coming this evening. It's really, really wonderful to see you here. Next up is our housing update, which has been a standing agenda item, and I think John Rogers is here to present.
All right. John Rogers, elder at Mission City Church, board member of Pathways Vermont and Vermont Foundation for Recovery, and recovery coach for Turning Point. And the last few months, I've been the chair of the Homeless Crisis Subcommittee, which is part of Project Alliance. And tonight, I'm here to give you an update on those that are still residing in the hotels. Talked with our representative for Bennington County for the Agency of Human Services, and he couldn't be here tonight, but I do have a report from him, so that's part of the update. It's just where we stand with the folks that are still in the hotels. So I want to update you for that on behalf of Adam with AHS. I want to give you a program update on the progress we're making with some projects here in the community, and then lastly, sort of our plan going forward, where we're going with this subcommittee. And that's where we'll start. So status of the hotels, progress on some projects, and then where we go from here. And this is coming from the Agency of Human Services, and I'm Adam Sansick, and he's currently has 117 households currently residing in the Bennington County hotels. 37 of those households have children. I think a total of 71 kids in those 37 households. The CCHRT program, which was put in place, ended in July 1st, and the AHS is right now working on hiring their replacement. That's been slow in happening, and admittedly, they're working hard to get those positions filled. They have not filled them yet. 74 individuals in the hotels currently have not been screened for coordinated entry. And that's really important, that we get everyone screened and into the coordinated entry list so that we can identify folks and be working toward more permanent housing for them.
John, can you just explain coordinated entry for those that don't know?
Yeah, coordinated entry is sort of our system that allows all the agencies in town to know who is unsheltered or in need of housing. All the agencies in town meet every Monday morning to go through that list and prioritize it and make sure folks are known and their housing is being addressed.
Thank you.
Is that good? So there's 74 of those folks that are currently in the hotels are not on the list, and so that's priority. That's job number one right now for AHS. Given they don't have these new people in place, they've hired a outside group by the name of Rescue Inc. to come in and pick up that charge to get folks screened and into coordinated entry. I think they've got 2 dates in the month of July, and their goal is by the end of July to have this organization have everyone screened and into coordinated entry. So that's really important, and they're confident. To me, it seemed like 74 was a lot. I guess compared to other counties in the state, 74 is not a lot, and they think it's pretty manageable for this organization who they've worked with in the past to get that done. So that's what I'm hearing from Adam on that. Also, there are 2 8-month positions open, and they're calling this sort of the ComCare team, which is going to be ongoing support for the hotels and sort of come alongside the outreach organization that we've been putting together here in the county with our social service teams. So that's in place, and they're also got an opening for a nurse to help with wound care and medical needs for those in the hotels, and I think that's a 2 or 3 month position, so they're trying to hire that as well. So that's what's going on with AHS. The letters went out 2 weeks ago to all the residents in the hotels, letting them know that they can stay in the hotels until April 1st of next year, provided that they participate in seeking permanent housing. And the first part of that participation is getting screened. So they're starting to put some expectations on the folks that are in the hotels that are going to help them help themselves, and getting them screened and into coordinated entry is the first step. And then in August, I think They're hopeful they'll have this ComCare team built and hired, and they are expecting all the residents in the hotels to get screened for ComCare. So we start to get a support plan in place. So that letter that went out 2 weeks ago, they're starting to put some framework around that letter and sort of explain some of the nuances that were all big question marks for us in the community. So communication is happening, and we're starting to get some clarity around that. So that's an update on where we stand right now with hotels and our pathway forward on that. So the second part is just what we're doing here in the community. Project Alliance, the Homeless Crisis Subcommittee. We started it back in May when we heard about the governor's announcement that folks are going to be exiting the hotels. But since mid-May, when we started this subcommittee, a lot has changed. And we started out with about 35 individuals representing about 25 state, town, local service agencies. And it's been a fluid situation, to say the least, right? A lot has changed since mid-May as far as our game plan moving forward. But I think the group has done a pretty good job of meeting regularly, staying engaged, and just sort of keeping priorities straight as things change. So in detail, once H-171 was enacted, and that was basically what the legislature did, and I think Dane was here to update us on that before, that extended the hotel stay for the majority of the folks. We took our list of projects and we reprioritized them. We wanted to make sure that we were giving people support, those that actually exited the hotels. 66 left on June 1st. We think there's, and this is my number, I think if you were to ask other folks in different agencies around town, they'd have a different number, and I didn't get a chance to check it with police, so this is just my number, but I think we right now have somewhere between 50 and 70 folks living in Bennington County outside. Like I said, if you talk to others, it might be a little lower number. If you talk to others, it might be a much higher number, but let's just say 50 to 70 folks unsheltered right now in Bennington County. I don't think that's outrageous. So we were making sure that we were putting some things in place to help those folks, support those folks who are living outside, while also working on things that are going to remedy the situation for the long term, trying to get some incremental housing units in place and getting folks connected and making progress towards permanent housing. So we had 6 projects, 4 of them are live out of the 6. Street outreach, which was our number one most important thing, and that was to get connected with folks, making sure they're getting on coordinated entry, they were getting care, they were getting connected with counseling and recovery support and all the things they need to get healthy. That is in place, and we're hoping it's going to become more robust with some state funding. Had good conversations with the state around supporting that project, but it is live now. The folks on the team are out in the communities interacting with folks and helping them. And we think it's going to become more robust and also partner with this ComCare thing I was telling you about once we get some more funding. So street outreach is underway. It should get better. The second one was a community services flyer, and that was just trying to get a updated list of all the things the community does for folks. And just an easy, quick reference on where to get food, where to get support, who to call, where to go. That's been produced and it's being circulated. Phones was another thing. We knew a number of people that were in hotels that didn't have phones or didn't have minutes. It's really hard to get connected and stay connected to services and getting the care you need if you don't have a phone these days. So we've secured 10 phones with 2 months of minutes each. And we're hoping to get more phones, but that'll get us started in getting phones to people that are in need of them. And the last thing we identified for sort of the people that are living outside right now, and that is to get some showers, let's get some free access to showers. So worked a deal with the rec center, and that got funded. So there's towels, there's a way to wash the towels, there's soap, there's shampoo, and there's punch cards for folks that want to go get a shower and get cleaned up at the rec center. And if you've ever lived outside for a long period of time, that's a big deal. It's a big deal. So those things are all in place, and those are sort of our immediate needs that we prioritize to help folks. And then the 2 big longer-term projects were to get incremental housing. One is to repurpose the Thatcher House, and the other is to acquire a motel in town to build transitional housing in. If both of those projects get funded, we get them through, that's 50 incremental living units for the town of Bennington. It's pretty good. We're optimistic about it. Capital, we have an agreement with a motel owner, so we're under a verbal agreement. We still need to get funding. Hale Resources is leading the charge on both of those projects from a development standpoint. And BCCH, UCS, Turning Point, all the key social service agencies are building wraparound services in programming to support both of those residences. So that's what's in place. The last meeting, Martha McKay from Vermont Interfaith Agency come to the group with an idea around a warming shelter. We've been talking about a warming shelter for a long time in the community. I remember, gosh, 4 years ago, getting into that a little bit. And we always couldn't solve the riddle. She's motivated to try again, and our subcommittee welcomed her ideas in, welcomed her energy, and we're hopeful that she can figure out a way to get it done. But we're all going to come alongside her and share some of our learning from the past and try to sort of coach her and guide her through some of the obstacles. So perhaps a warming shelter might be on the table in the future, but we'll see how it all plays out. But that's very new. It just came up in the last meeting. So we'll keep the town apprised of that as that unfolds. And you all know the story too, so we all are aware of where we fell short last time. So the last section is just, where do we go from here? This subcommittee was, I think it did a good job of galvanizing a lot of the agencies in town around a very urgent need. At the time, we basically had 6 weeks before we thought 191 people were going to be rolling out of the hotels, right? So it was extreme crisis. And while the legislators have sort of dissipated some of that urgency, April of 2024 really isn't that far off. So we want to keep momentum. We want to keep focus on this. Moving forward, this subcommittee is going to start to move these projects that I just talked about that aren't complete and live into Project Alliance and start to move them into the natural subcommittees that are already in place. We already have a subcommittee led by Margay Diamond from Turning Point. I think we updated you last time. She's leading the peer support subcommittee. 3 or 4 of these projects, especially the outreach ones, she's already tasked with leading. So it just seems like it's a natural time at this point for us to transition that under her leadership and under that part of Project Alliance. So that's where we're going with that one. Some of these other projects will sort of roll into the different subcommittees. Housing will take on Thatcher and the motels. And then we've also got Todd from the hospital chairing the treatment subcommittee. So we have some really good leaders in place for some of these projects to naturally fold into. And we're in the process of doing that now. So this subcommittee, I think, is going to eventually transition out, but you will hear from different leads within Project Alliance going forward, more on an as-need basis. When we have newsworthy things that we want to share with you, with the town, we'll bring them to your attention. But that's where we're at right now. Thanks for the time, for the update, and yeah, we'll keep you posted. And thanks for your participation and all your support.
Thank you, John. I think it's been really helpful for not only the select board, but also the community to hear what has been happening and how quickly things have changed. The landscape has changed. So we look forward to updates as they make sense to give us. Okay?
Thank you.
So thank you.
Yep.
Any questions for John?
I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to say from where I sit, and it's not where you sit, but you and all of your colleagues, it's amazing what you've been able to accomplish, and I hope you all feel like you've accomplished a lot, and you're not getting lost in all that you still have to do and not lose sight of what you've actually done so far.
Thanks, Jean. Next up is a discussion or a presentation by Bennington Elementary School staff, Lisa Flynn and Sarah Wida, and they're going to talk to us about the diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts that have been ongoing. Several select board members went to their table at the Juneteenth celebration and were just absolutely amazed at what they'd been doing. So I'll turn it over to you guys.
Hi, so I just wanted to introduce myself. My name's Lisa Thurston Flynn, and I'm a third grade educator at Bennington Elementary School.
And I am Sarah Wida. I am the librarian at Bennington Elementary.
So I just wanted to thank you for inviting us here. We're happy to show what we've been doing at the school. I just wanted to give a little background about my education. I did attend SBSU schools, and I started right at Bennington Elementary School, the school I'm teaching in now. I started kindergarten there. And so I have a passion for, working in this community, and I just want to say that I wanted to make a difference, and we decided to through the union, Read Across America is a NEA-sponsored grant program. Read Across America is a national known, not holiday, but celebrated reading program in the country. And we decided to put this grant forward to help enhance the reading diversity in our school. So here's one of the choice boards that we were offering in the school. So we decided to have a week-long initiative for this program, and they're like live. I don't know if it's live now, but if you click on the flag, it'll bring you to a link, and then you click on the link, and it'll read a diverse book. So this is just one of the examples. We also had many activities that were given. Each teacher was given a book as well as the students. We focused on a book called Change Sings by Amanda Gorman. And the book was, activities were focused on the book. All week long we were reading the book, the kids were given the books, we had art projects and other projects like bookmarks, posters, painting projects, music.
I apologize, I did bring up the link, but it just is showing this.
Oh, okay. That's all right, I won't go too fast. Yeah, so that's just an example. Then when you click on the flag, it'll give you a link, and then you could, there's just an example. So that was one example of what we wanted all the teachers in the building to engage in these activities. Not just by reading that one Amanda Gorman book, but by looking at the array of different books that were available. And we're just trying to have students see educators and other people that look like them. As you realize, over the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years, this town has changed as far as a diversity the makeup of the town. And I have to say, when I attended school here, I was one of very few children of color. And when I got to college, I went to college, I started at Southern Vermont College, and then I transferred to Queens College. That was the first time I had a teacher of color. So it took all those years to have someone that was representing someone that looked like me in the classroom. So I felt like this program really spoke to me because I wanted to change that and enhance what we're doing here in Bennington. So I'll turn it over to Sarah now, and I guess one more thing I could say. So just before, I just wanted to say that the Read Across America, there's some takeaways from the program. Read Across America emphasizes in diversity in books and readers, reflecting different cultures and student experiences. State and local communities are putting their unique spin on Read Across America with community events. And there are new programs like Diverse Book Challenge and resources about the freedom to read in an era of book banning are special markers of the 25th anniversary of Read Across America.
If you want to go to the next slide. So the book we chose for our week-long program this year was Change Things by Amanda Gorman, who was the poet laureate who read the poem at Joe Biden's inauguration. We were able to get copies through this grant for every student, every teacher, all the admin, the cafeteria, the custodians, everybody, every adult and child who came into our building was able to get a book to take home with them, a hardback book, super nice copy. And then we spent a week doing different projects to get students and adults in the building to engage with the book, to create this kind of community around it. If you want to go to the next slide, one of the things we did was a writing contest. So K through 5, every student was invited to write. The teachers were encouraged to do this during class time. After reading the story, they answered the prompt to write about a time when you worked with others to make a change. Every grade had a winner. The kindergartners weren't getting outshone by the 5th graders. Every grade had their own winner. And these are a couple of the ones that I really liked. That one girl wrote about singing to people who were sick when her grandmother was sick. She sang to her, and I thought that was really sweet and really thoughtful and really something that the kids can actually do. And then the other one is a little bit longer, but it's about making her friends and her sisters feel happy and asking them to join and being a good friend in general. One of the other ones I really liked that I didn't put in the slide was about if I could do anything to change the world, I would go into the hospitals and I would paint flowers and murals on the walls. And I just thought that was really sweet. The kids were really thinking about things they could actually do, which meant they were really, thinking about the book. On the next slide, our other contest was a poster contest. So again, we did this by grade level. The lower grades had one contest and the upper grades had another one. But these were our winners. There's this mural in the book, and I think there's a picture of it at the very end with kids playing instruments. That's part of the story. So one of the 5th graders drew the musical instruments and the musical notes and sang "Be Kind," and actually a 2nd grader drew the picture of everyone picking up the trash. He's an amazing artist. And so our winners, to motivate them to really participate and do this, we ended up getting the winners blown up on real poster size paper, and the kids could take home their own copy, and then we put a copy up in the school so everyone in the building could see it. And I saved them, so they'll probably go back up next school year. So everybody, I think the pick up trash one really needs to go right by every door. And then there's one more contest on the next slide. We did a bookmark contest, and again, this was by grade level. Just to design a bookmark inspired by the book, and I had kids doing this in the library, and I had other teachers were doing it in their classrooms. And this was a tough contest, but our 2nd grader, a different 2nd grader said the whole family helps. And then our 3 through 5 winner, I think was in your class, Miss Flynn, just wrote love. And then the colors on it were straight out of the book. She took some of the design from the art in the book. So it was spot on. And we got those printed on cardstock. I brought a couple of them so you could see, and then I was giving them out in the library. Kids love to take bookmarks. So the winners of that got their bookmark printed, and everyone in the school was able to take home copies if they needed them. So our next slide, I think, has pictures of other ways the kids were, we keep arrowing through, I think they kind of come up. So you can see some of the work kids were doing in the classrooms. They were, I think that's your class again, right?
They painted a mural.
The big mural that we had out in the hallway, and some of the bookmarks that they turned in. And another class did these little, these guitars that you can see. They say, I am the change the world needs, and then they listed a thing they could do to help change the world and color those. And those went up outside the library on my bulletin board. And then on the next page, there's the finished, I did do 2 pictures and piece it together, but there's our finished mural in the hallway. And the next one, there's this one. And more of your students, so you can see.
And we had reading groups where we were taking turns reading and discussing, what's happening in the story. And I did get parent permission, by the way, all the kids there in the picture.
Yes.
But the kids were able to read it a number of times, more than once.
Next slide, I think. Oh, so then the second part of our grant, we still had money left over, and we wanted to do an event, another kind of event to give away even more books. So I was able to order 250-ish more books to give away, and we ended up being invited to give some of these away at the Juneteenth celebration for SVSU. And for that program, I brought a small portion of the books that I had ordered and was giving away books that mostly focused on Black characters, African American history, and things that I thought would be related to the event for the day. But the whole order really was intentionally selected books with diverse perspectives and characters, and as a way to help kids see themselves in the books, but also to introduce them to new ideas and thoughts and parts of the world. So there's still even more books that are yet to be distributed to our kids sitting in the library right now, and that were given out at the Juneteenth celebration. I think that might be the end of our slideshow. I think there's just some pictures of that. Yeah.
This is the Juneteenth event, yeah, and some of the books and the titles.
The books that we gave out. And here we go. This is the big mural that's in the book in the center. It's this big spread with all the characters from the book coming together and playing their instruments. And they've, all throughout the book, they've done these little service projects, picking up trash in the park and painting buildings that were run down and cleaning windows and planting flowers and little things like that that are doable for kids that were good to see. I think that might be our last slide, if you want to add anything else.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board or comments? Besides, it's fabulous.
Is it going to be a yearly thing now, you're hoping?
Well, we do have money left over from the grant, and so we hope to pick another book and another project to work on. And we'd like to do some after-school events, some nighttime events, and have parents come in and do readings with kids. And we're hoping that it'll continue, and I have to apply, I guess, for a renewal of the grant through the NEA, and we'll see. We're hopeful that we will be able to continue it because it's been such a wonderful experience, and everything just kind of bloomed into this wonderful project, and we're really excited about it. So.
And is it a specific week every year, or can you choose when you want to do it?
Yeah, it's the first week of March,
okay.
I believe, the Read Across America.
Officially, but we didn't actually do it until April this year. We didn't have the funding in time. So
yeah, so we just kind of morphed it into, okay, it's Read Across America every day.
Yeah. Right. It's usually on Dr. Seuss's birthday, which is the first week of March. Yeah.
That's great.
Bring some kids next year.
Yeah, we could.
With you.
We could.
Yeah. Any community questions or comments? Yes, please, come on up.
Clark Adams here in Bennington. One of the things that I think is great is encouraging children to read. I think that all the without well-educated children, our society is not going to proceed. I've read in the last couple of years with the fallout or the effect of COVID issues in education, there actually been an academic decline. I'm just wondering, what has been your experience in programs like this with narrowing that gap or even elevating the academic skills of our students, how it has helped, or has it helped?
Well, yes, well, thank you. I feel like there has been a slide, and, we are doing a summer recovery program, and that does help quite a bit. But we feel like the more you read to your students, or any child that you know, it's going to help increase their enthusiasm for reading in numerous ways. But there has been a slide because of COVID, and we see it, in the schools, and the summer programs do help, but I feel like all year long, just to have a push of after-school programs and programs like this, where we're celebrating reading in a number of different ways, is going to increase enthusiasm.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Yes, please. You have to come up.
Twittis is Hart, Bennington. 2 questions. One, I'm wondering how many kids of color there are in Ben L, and then generally in the supervisory union. And then the second question is whether at Bennington Elementary you found that this program brought kids who were at risk or marginalized or not part of things, sort of brought them out, made positive changes in individual kids.
Great questions.
Well, I can try to answer it. We don't have the exact numbers of how many students of color. Well, there's probably more than 2, but I don't have the exact number. There's probably, I'm going to, say less than 10, probably. I'm just guessing, but I don't have the exact number. What was the second part of your question?
If you saw positive change in kids who were uneducated in some way.
Through this program, you mean, or in general? Yes. Yes. Well, I feel like it was amazing when I took out this big roll of paper and I said, well, today we're going to paint. The hands-on stuff the kids really love. They just love to get down and, and the focus was on the book, so they knew what to do, and I feel like there's less behaviors when they're engaged in something that's hands-on, so I feel like the more hands-on project-based learning is probably the way to go. Yes, well, the day we painted, I painted in small groups within, we rotated.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Hello, I'm Donna Stone, and I just want to say thank you to Lisa and Sarah for filling out this grant and promoting Read Across America at their school and encouraging learners to engage themselves in their learning process. I also want to say that as president of Delta Kappa Gamma here locally, the Ada chapter, Sarah and Lisa will be bringing this little PowerPoint show to our meeting in September and encouraging other teachers to fill out scholarship opportunities and to write grants and promote learning in different ways. And the key word is project-based. So I'm really excited to have them come to our meeting. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
I'm also in a thankful mode. I really want to thank the Select Board for bringing a project from the schools and from Bennington Elementary School to the attention of the community. Oftentimes, there's a perception that things are really, really awful in the schools and that it's a little bit hopeless. And the more that we in the community know about the good things that are happening in the schools and the wonderful work that the teachers and students are doing, the more pride we have in a community and the more I think people aren't afraid to approach the schools and the possibility of community members being able to offer our services in time on behalf of what the teachers and students and administrators are doing. So thank you for spotlighting this particular program and these teachers.
And we want everybody to know that Bennington cares.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you both for coming. It was really delightful, and it was a very easy decision to, I think all of us that were at the celebration were like, yes, they should come and present this to the community. So thank you very much. All right, the next up is something on a slightly different note. Ratification of Bennington Emergency Management Plan. Stu?
Yeah, now we go back to the boring stuff.
Yes, I wasn't going to say that.
Yes, every so often we have to upgrade our emergency management plan. Generally, it's under the direction of Chief Doucette, who is our emergency management director. This year, we worked hard towards the end of May and into June to try to get the plan ready because we had been informed that there was some severe weather heading our way, and we wanted to make sure we had the most recent update in the hands of the state of Vermont and in the hands of the Bennington County Regional Commission. Paul completed the work, and Jeannie and I did sign it, but it does require approval by the board. So tonight I'm asking the board to ratify our decision to sign this plan and submit it to the state and to the county.
All right, so I'm going to ask for a motion, and then we can have discussion.
I move that we ratify the emergency management plan.
Thank you. Second? Second. Thank you. Any discussion? I guess one thing I want to say is there are some tweaks that'll be ongoing, and those, making sure of all the names and information is accurate as things change. Can I ask about I was happy to see this because as many of us may remember, Vermont Digger reported that the emergency shelter was at the Armory last year, and many of us were surprised, and it turned out not to be true. It's at the middle school. So it's nice to actually see the information. But can you explain what the alternate sites are? Are those available as overflow sites, or are they also sites that are open whenever there's an emergency?
They're generally available only in the case of an extreme emergency where we don't have sufficient room at the main site. And unfortunately, Bennington is very unique because the Roaring Branch River and the Williamsack River ultimately cut the town in half. So we have our main emergency shelter at the middle school, which is on the north side of the river. And should things go really badly, we would most likely have to look for alternate places south of the river in case the community got cut off. But that is a fact of life that we have to live with.
Okay. All right. Other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? All right. Then, shall we vote? All those in favor of ratifying the Bennington Emergency Management Plan, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you. All right. Tax rate.
Yes.
For FY24.
This might be exciting for some people. This year, we present to you the tax rates that are based on the budgets that were approved by the voters back in March. We generally wait until the appeals to the grand list are finalized at the first level before we set the grand list, which has now been completed. Back in January of 2023, given the cost of things at the time, we projected that the increase would be somewhere around 11 cents on the tax rate, and that's 11 cents per hundred, which is about 8.3%. We did have some fluctuation in the grand list, which was not anticipated. It actually went down this year due to some problems with some properties that were devalued. But anyway, we present to you the grand list, the general fund tax rate, which will rise an increase of 5.95 cents. The highway fund tax rate will increase 5.59 cents. The fire fund, which is the village fire department, it does not include the village of North Bennington or Bennington Rural Fire District, will rise 8 thousandths of a penny, which is not very much. The grand total is a tax rate of $1.45, an increase of 11.6 cents on the tax rate, and I'm asking for your approval of that rate. It actually works out to an increase of 8.7%, slightly more than what we anticipated.
All right. Someone like to make a motion?
You can't send out
Guys, there are only 3 of you can make a motion.
I'll move that we accept the tax rates as recommended.
And then, are you seconding that, Jim? Thank you. All right. Any discussion? Any comments or questions from the public? Yes, Sam, please.
Sam Racino from Bennington, Vermont. I know I reiterate myself from time to time, but all I ask for the board is live within their means. It's like running a house with the budget. Sometimes we go crazy with our sidewalks, or we have our wants and our needs to make our town look appealing to the general public. Sometimes we have to put things on the side burner. That's all I ask.
Sam, I'm going to ask you, so this is a time, if you have specific questions, or if you have specific questions about the tax rate, please state them.
Is there any way that we can curtail it? I mean, is our tax rate just to,
Well, we did already vote on the budget. I mean, we did
I know that, but I mean, as we go down into 2024, let's still tighten that belt. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none? Hearty souls? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. You have it, Stu.
Thank you.
All right, and then the manager's report.
Yes, tonight, many of you will read, or maybe have already read, of the ACLU filing a lawsuit against the town regarding Fowler and Keating, which was a complaint against the Bennington Police Department that was handled by the Select Board a little more than 2 years ago. Following that determination by the board that there was no racist activities of the police department, the ACLU filed a complaint with the Human Rights Commission. After 2 years, the commission completed its investigation, and its investigator and its executive director both recommended that there was a finding of no reasonable grounds to believe that the board had discriminated against these individuals. Unfortunately, the Human Rights Commissioners had not made a decision or a final determination, but in spite of that, the ACLU has now decided to pursue the matter by filing a lawsuit representing the same individuals. The town of Bennington believes that the allegations in the lawsuit are very similar and deficient, and will respond and defend the case as appropriate. But that, you will read about that tomorrow in many of the news medias. The ACLU has filed the lawsuit over the weekend and issued a press release today. So we all found out about it about the same time. But the board is aware of it, but I wanted to bring the community up to speed. And the only other thing I've got in the manager's report that I think is of note, we know that we'll be meeting August 14th to talk about the Riverwalk update and the number of trees that may or may not have to go. The second thing, though, is EPA was in town last week to take a look at the Jard site. For those of you who are familiar with the site, it has basically been a capped site that has remained simply in that form for a number of years now. Jard closed in 1987, so it gives you an idea of how long this site has remained. It is an EPA-controlled site, and they are taking activities and actions to contain the PCB contamination which lies beneath the ground. They hope to bring a public meeting as early as August 23rd so that the public will understand exactly what has been happening and what some of the next steps might be. They basically have contained the pollution that is beneath the surface, but there is some effort now to take it to the next level, which would be removal of those materials, and there are at least two alternatives that they're looking at, both of them very expensive. Both of them will be at the cost of the federal government, but we wanted you to know that they are still out there, they're still concerned about the site, and they're taking next steps to ensure the community's safety. And that's all I have.
Great. Yes, board can ask questions. No, the manager's report is not part of the public. I'm sorry, you may not ask questions, but you may, Jim.
It looks to me that County Street is going along nicely. But has the road been narrowed?
No, I don't believe the road's been narrowed. County Street is moving, yes, it's been progressing slowly. The weather has contributed to our inability to complete that project in a timely, what we would consider to be a timely fashion. We have added sidewalk to the south side of the street, and that's why it may give you the perception that the road has been narrowed. We are replacing the sidewalk on the north side of the street that was in very bad condition. The road has been upgraded. Several lead line services have been replaced. Drainage has been improved. And major sewer line connections have been made so that the main sewer line that carries, I can't remember the percentage, but 60% of the flows from the community flow down through that area and then down Benmont Avenue. That has been upgraded and repaired, making things much more comfortable for those of us who worry about those things. The addition has been a asphalt pathway project, actually, which will run from County Street to join with the pathway itself, and it will go beyond at some point in the future, all the way to try to connect ultimately with the pathway project that runs up towards the middle school.
So you're saying that it won't be cement sidewalks?
It'll be asphalt.
Okay.
It's going to be pedestrian.
One side will be concrete.
Yes, one side will be concrete. That's the sidewalk that we're replacing. The other side will be wider and a pathway, so you have bicycle, pedestrian traffic on both.
Okay, on the south side of the street from Depot down to Benmont, there was not sidewalk, correct?
There was sidewalk, I believe, from Lincoln to County on the south side. Am I correct in that, Dan? I don't recall exactly.
I don't recall that.
No, it was, I don't think so. In front of the storage units.
Yeah.
I don't think there was.
No.
It may have been at some point, but there wasn't.
Okay. So yes, that's all new.
All right, then now, Were they taken under eminent domain, or were they?
No, we had sufficient right-of-way to do the work we do. It's a 50-foot right-of-way, so we have sufficient right-of-way.
Were the property owners compensated in any way?
No.
It's right away.
Okay, just curious. Because if it were me.
All right, so upcoming agendas. Oh, wait, you have a question, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. What's the contaminant at the Jard site?
PCBs.
PCBs, okay, thank you. And I'm getting the feeling, and I think Mike McDonough reported that the Riverwalk lighting project, we haven't forgotten about it, but it is somewhat delayed.
It's on the next agenda.
It's on the next agenda, okay.
Yes, and the only reason it hasn't moved forward is because we are planning to do the majority of that work in-house.
Okay.
And because County Street was held up, that project's been held up. And we do have Mr. Bethel, who was concerned about removal of some of those mature trees. And as your tree warden, I have done an investigation and will be reporting at the 14th.
Okay, I just wanted people to know, we know it's still coming.
All right, so upcoming agenda, Riverwalk improvement update is one thing. The Bennington Police Department is coming for their quarterly report, right? And also we're having an update on the marketing analytics, yes? From Shannon.
That is true.
All right, anything else that we know? It seems enough.
Isn't that enough?
Seems enough. All right, so that's good. All right, other business. Anything, Jim?
Yeah, I did, at the last meeting, I asked about hours on the weekend at the hazardous waste material facility at some point in the future, and the person whose name escapes me from BCRC did get back to me and left me a message that they are hoping to add some Saturday hours in the not too distant future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for following up.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. That was a motion to, do I have a second? Second. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right. Thank you very much.